Hello, my beautiful friends. Something huge is about to unfold. All the signs are there, and we need to prepare ourselves. There are three possible scenarios where we could be openly confronted with the existence of extraterrestrial life. Two of these scenarios are real, and one is fake. And none of these three scenarios have anything to do with the infamous space rock known as 3I Atlas. That, my friends, is clearly a comet, and it's just a massive spiritual distraction from reality. I want to talk to you about something far more serious that is connected to the actuality of our existence here in space. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean. For over 30 years, I've worked together with Telstar, an interdimensional, interuniversal force of nature and evolution, to help people navigate the events on this planet so they can stay on a positive path of natural evolution. Now, it should be obvious to any thinking person that we could not possibly be the only living beings in the entire universe. I've said many times that this universe is teeming with life. But I've also said that we should be focused on this planet, which is the entire reason that we are here. We don't need to be thinking about space travel when we have such an unresolved mess here on Earth. We are in no position to function as an asset to anyone else in the cosmos because we are far too violent and confused as a species. I mean, let's face it, we have too little regard for our own home planet to be really welcomed anywhere else. It's important to remember that our collective human baseline of consciousness is all about power, victimhood, and control, with a whole lot of violence mixed in. We are an extremely volatile and unpredictable species. We need to consider this when we think about possible interaction with other forms of life. See, because we're so unstable, we are also highly vulnerable. We have no idea what we may have attracted from within this universe or why. So far, on a cosmic level, there has been zero accountability for the state of affairs on this planet. So let's talk about three possible scenarios for extraterrestrial contact in the future, remembering that one of them could be entirely fake. Let me start by sharing what led me to this possible conclusion. It started with what I consider to be an extreme overreaction to 3I Atlas, the interstellar comet currently passing through our solar system. You probably know all about Avi Loeb, the theoretical physicist who has been all over the media promoting the idea that this space rock could be an alien craft. Apparently, he has been desperately hoping for years that any space rock, any meteor or comet is a spaceship. He said that Oumuamua could have been a spaceship. He's written 2 books about his desire to find ETs. At one point, he even claimed to have found a piece of an alien ship in the ocean. It turned out to be, you guessed it, a rock. He's basically obsessed. Now, his rhetoric has led to many spiritual spin-offs from his alien tales. Things like this current interstellar comet is alive. It's a being. It's a being who loves us and is sending rainbow lights into the earth to help the animals. It's here to usher in the new earth with unconditional love and bring secret codes that it's sending us through the sun. The spiritual stories about this rock are literally endless. Now, there are 2 things you may not know about Avi Loeb. For years, he has been deemed a crackpot by those in the scientific community who actually know what they're talking about. But even more interesting is this little fact. Supposedly, he is connected to the military intelligence of another country, which I shall not name. But none of these things are what really caught my attention. What really caught my attention is the way in which much of the controlled mainstream media has been giving this guy an ongoing platform and playing along with his alien narrative. Since when did it become okay for the media to validate the existence of extraterrestrial life? I thought only crazy people believed such things according to them. So this led me to consider the possibility of the first scenario, which is Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is the name of a secret government plan to stage a fake alien invasion. A man named Werner von Braun was a former Nazi scientist who was brought to the U.S. after World War II. He became a prominent rocket scientist at NASA in the 1960s and 70s. When he was on his deathbed, he confided in his closest assistant, Carol Rosen. He told her that the elites had a last resort plan to stage a fake alien invasion if all else failed in their larger plan for a one-world government. He said, when you see that happening, you'll know they are playing their last card. It will all be a lie. So when I saw so much of the mainstream media on board with Avi Loeb's stories, I thought that maybe we were being psychologically groomed for Project Bluebeam. I can totally see how they could use that to usher us into a new lockdown that would be even worse than 2020. One that would allow them to finally establish their plan for a one-world government and total AI control over the fear of an alien threat. But then, what I saw next led me to think of two other possible scenarios that could actually be real. Last Friday, a documentary film was released in theaters and on Amazon. It's called The Age of Disclosure. Now, I expected the usual boring disclosure film, but I watched it anyway. I was actually surprised at what the film revealed. I was especially interested because some of the most prominent people in the controlled media, like Fox and CNN, were interviewing people in the film. Prominent news anchors like Bret Baier of Fox News openly agreed with the repeated statements by these guests that we are not alone in the universe. They talked about a highly secretive UFO crash retrieval program and the government's reverse engineering of alien craft. The guests specifically said that they had seen non-human alien bodies and even some living extraterrestrials after these crashes. They talked about how knowledge of such things could change humanity forever. Now, these are all things that have been talked about before. But what is most striking is the very controlled mainstream news media is now agreeing to all of it. Now, the film itself goes into great detail about exactly how all of this has been covered up for the past 80 years, since the famous Roswell crash in New Mexico in 1947. It features some very prominent people in our government, including Marco Rubio, the current Secretary of State, along with multiple senators and high-ranking military personnel. Now, there is a secret government program called the Legacy Program. Their sole mission is to always be ready for instant deployment to alien crashes, so they can quickly isolate and secure the vehicle, along with any of its ET occupants, whether dead or alive. These craft are then turned over to defense contractors, whose job is to try and reverse engineer the technology so it can be used by the military and corporate interests. The defense contractors control all of the physical materials and research so that no one can gain access to it through the Freedom of Information Act, because now it's all being held by private corporations. That's how they keep it secret. These companies funnel huge amounts of cash into political campaigns so that no legislation ever gets passed to jeopardize their secrets. Now, I hesitate to go into any more detail here because it seems a little risky to me. So if you want to find out more, you can watch the film yourself on Amazon. What this all points to is that we are in a very complicated situation. Let's put Three-Eye Atlas aside, which I think is just a massive distraction and a whole lot of nonsense about a comet. Extraterrestrials have been involved with this planet for a very long time. I have had plenty of my own experiences with such things, along with millions of other people around the world. One of the things that this film points out is that after Roswell, the US government intentionally created a disinformation campaign. This was designed to ridicule and stigmatize anyone who talked about ETs and spaceships and deem them as crazy. And when I see people getting so worked up over a space rock, I wonder why these same people do not seem interested in the millions of people who have experienced very real alien abductions. And what about the cattle mutilations that have official eyewitnesses to actual physical craft levitating these animals into their ships? How about the countless numbers of people who have had extraterrestrial contact for years, but feel completely alone and unable to talk about it? I have personally met a number of such people who were personally suffering and in tears about the fact that they have to live with these experiences and they can't tell anyone. Guys, it's really heartbreaking when you see that in someone. Now, one of the things that I appreciated about this film is that they finally explained the phenomenon of missing time that so often occurs when a person is taken on board one of these ships. They were able to explain the technology that creates that, and it makes perfect sense. Now, here's what is alarming about this film. They constantly refer to all of this as a grave national security threat. There's a great concern about what they call an ontological shock to society. They talk about such revelations being a psychological, sociological, and theological shock to humanity. They wonder about the economic impact of the President of the United States standing in front of a microphone and informing people that we are involved with alien, non-human life. They say the fact that we are not alone in the universe poses a very serious and emerging threat to the United States. They also say that there is a secret arms race between the US, Russia, and China to successfully reverse engineer these advanced alien technologies and possibly turn them into terrifying weapons. There is a great tone of urgency, which leads me to wonder if something very unexpected might be about to happen. So what could that be? Here are two possibilities, and I'm sure there are others. One of them has to do with transhumanism, which will be the next phase after transgenderism. Here's my theory. Now, I have always maintained that AI is an alien technology. I have also suspected that we risk being turned into a different kind of life form similar to the gray aliens, many of whom are AI or a combination of biology and AI. Overall, there is clearly a powerful and alien influence on our planet and on our human civilization. I say that because so much of what is emerging here is completely contrary to the natural planet and to us as naturally evolving humans. Our human species is being torn apart and turned into something else. Here's what I have often wondered. I wonder if a certain species of aliens made a deal with certain governments on this planet that would explain AI and the decades of human and animal abductions. What if they said something like this? You give us experimental access to humans and certain animals, and in return, we'll provide you with ultra-advanced technology. What if the finished product of such an arrangement is about to be brought out into the open? The people in this documentary are crystal clear that there is way more to this story that cannot and will not be revealed. But they are deeply concerned that people are so much in the dark about everything. And another possibility could be this. Maybe they've already succeeded in reverse engineering some of this stuff. Maybe the government needs to bring this advanced technology out in the open, and they're going to have to explain how they got so far seemingly overnight. Although I think that explanation is probably overly simplistic. I think it's more likely that either a new alien force has emerged, or that they have lost control of an original deal that they made with certain ETs. Either way, now they have to deal with the fruits of their misguided attempts to hide everything and the dangerous implications of that. Now, here's an important thought, you guys. The fact that they've been so determined to keep all of this secret clearly indicates that this has always been a bad deal for humanity. Whatever the case, the situation is extremely complex. We need to get our heads out of the clouds and stop the incessant spiritual fantasizing about space rocks, AI gods, and supposed galactic saviors. Otherwise, we will find ourselves completely unprepared to navigate whatever is coming next in the actual world that we live in. So my message is still the same. Get comfortable with the fact that we live in space. Stop making the existence of other extraterrestrial life forms such a huge deal. Stop imagining that a spaceship is the most amazing thing that could ever happen. It's not. It's completely normal. Once you realize this, you will not be so blown away by the existence of extraterrestrial life. And you will be so much more grounded and anchored in your power. You will be able to stay a lot more conscious and far less reactive if weird, unexpected things start happening. Now, whether real or fake, we are clearly being prepared for something major to occur. I would get psychologically prepared now. Stay true to the natural integrity of yourself and of our beautiful planet. Stay focused on the course of your natural evolution. Build strength in your consciousness in a way that you never doubt what reality is and who you are meant to be. Remember that no matter what happens here on Earth, the platform for your larger cosmic journey is the infinite universe itself. And above all else, stay firmly connected to your heart. That is your anchor, your constant connection to everything that is actually true at the highest level of being. And also maintain what I like to call a good level of cosmic common sense. Now, as always, I would love to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts about the existence of extraterrestrial life as it relates to us on a purely practical level, as opposed to merely believing a lot of fanciful stories on the internet? And do you have any personal experience of extraterrestrial contact? Let me know in the comments. Let's not lose our way no matter what crazy next thing happens on our planet. Now, if you want to stay on this journey with me, Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because I will have much more to say as we go forward. And share this video with someone you think might find this interesting. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends, and I will see you in the next video. Namaste.